Hello, hello. I just wanted to give a quick update on the Zoom call that we had last Sunday, and my apologies for getting this out late. We got lots going on. And in that Zoom call, I wanted to make 2 points. And let me just share my screen. And this is the International Narcotics Control Board report of 2010. And this is the people that regulate or that tell countries what to regulate, what not to regulate. International Narcotics Control Board. In that very extensive 160-page document on page 46. They specifically state that ayahuasca is not under international control. And let's see, what are they saying here? Under the 1971 convention, no plants are currently controlled under that convention or under the 1988 convention. Preparations for oral use made from plants containing those active ingredients are also not under international control. And why is that significant? Because they specifically state in their document, page 46, go look it up if you like, examples of such plants, including ayahuasca. And what do they say? Such as ayahuasca preparation made from plants indigenous to the Amazon basin of South America, mainly a jungle vine, Banisterium caapi, etc., etc., etc. So as we move forward with our DCRIM document, this is significant because, how did ayahuasca become criminalized? How did ayahuasca become criminalized in Canada? It was specifically stated in their reports, in the United Nations report, that ayahuasca is not included in the ban on DMT. But, and just let me show you this too. This was, just to reiterate, this was further backed up with a letter to ICEERS, where they again state that ayahuasca is not under international control, duly signed by the people that do that kind of thing. So what we have here is where the United Nations, through their conventions, and I'll just explain the conventions. Conventions are something that the United States or the United Nations publishes. Well, it's probably the United States as well. Where they make recommendations to their member countries. Now, most member countries just adopt the UN conventions and put their stuff into the criminal code. So how did ayahuasca get lumped in with DMT? And it's interesting because when we were looking at the Brazilian model of decriminalization, in their very extensive documents, at one point in the documents there, they said that the United Nations suggested that ayahuasca be included with the ban on DMT. Now, what weight does a suggestion from the United Nations carry? Well, I would liken it to, when you were a kid and your dad suggested that you mow the lawn or there wouldn't be any allowance coming on Saturday. You might want to mow the lawn. So this is the weight that this carries. The one thing I want to show you here as well, share the screen. Let's get to the window. So here again, we've got the United Nations telling us stuff. Healthcare among most corrupt sectors, warns UN expert backing citizen whistleblowers. So, on the one, so I don't, I don't make this up. I just report it. So here you have a situation where DMT is included, or ayahuasca is included on the ban on DMT. Let me just show you the differentiation here between DMT and ayahuasca. This is DMT. It's a white yellowish powder. It's a refined substance. There may be some DMT in the ayahuasca brew, but this is, when you're talking about DMT, this is what we're talking about. It's refined DMT. It would be the same as cocaine. You know, the coca leaves may contain some DMT, but they're not cocaine. So that's the equivalent there. So this is important as we move forward with the DCRIM document, because ayahuasca was never under United Nations international control. They didn't ban ayahuasca. So here we have Mr. Chad Gillies, where this distinction was not made. Ayahuasca is DMT. They send a SWAT team out to him and arrest him for his stash of ayahuasca. So if it was indeed ayahuasca, allegedly ayahuasca, that's still going through the court system, so I have to be careful there. So in the DCRIM document, you can succinctly state that ayahuasca was never under international control and was never meant to be criminalized. So that's an important point. The other point, and just in terms of, dimethyltryptamine toxicity, there are studies online, neuropharmacology of NN-dimethyltryptamine, in which they state that that DMT is not neurotoxic unless you take and inject large amounts of DMT into your system, which would be the same thing as injecting large amounts of aspirin or heroin or cocaine or whatever into your system. They can be fatal as well. So that's an important point as we move forward. The other point that I wanted to make was, this is a significant study from Luke Jensen in Peru, in which they did brain mapping of people that were in ayahuasca ceremonies, and they looked at what are the effects of ayahuasca in a person's brain. And this is where we get into the concept of intelligently guided medicine, because what they found out in this very, very interesting study is that ayahuasca doesn't have the same effect on your brain as it does on my brain or the brain on other people that were in the ceremony. It doesn't affect the same parts of the brain, even if you take the same ayahuasca. And why is that significant? Because the shamans have been telling us for centuries, forever, anybody that understands this medicine, that ayahuasca is what they call intelligently guided, or a spiritual medicine. It doesn't act like any known pharmaceutical drug. And in fact, I talked to a pharmacist who is one of our members, and I asked him specifically, and thanks, Mike, for the very detailed reply that you sent to me that. And he said that there isn't a pharmaceutical drug that acts in this manner. So for example, like you take cocaine and it lights up the reward center, or heroin will act on a different part of the brain, meth, Adderall, whatever, act on specific parts of the brain. Ayahuasca distinguishes itself in that it doesn't act on the same parts of the brain in the same parts of people. So why is this important? Because in the DCRIM document, we have to put this in terms that people can understand. And if I say to somebody, well, this is a spiritual medicine, well, what does that mean? Well, it's an intelligently guided medicine. Oh, what does that mean? It means it doesn't act like any known pharmaceutical drug. It's in a specific category all to itself. Ayahuasca is not a pharmaceutical drug, and it will never will be, and you'll never be able to separate ayahuasca from the ceremony for that reason. So differentiating and explaining to people what ayahuasca is, what it does, the effects of ayahuasca. When we call it a sacred medicine, or we call it a spiritual medicine, or an intelligently guided medicine, we now have the science to back that up. So for me, that's a very significant part of our DCRIM document as we move forward. And that was the 2 points that I wanted to make. The other thing I would just like to say is regarding the Chad Gillies arrest, while we're on this topic. The reason that I got involved with this was because of this man, Chad Gillies. And he is what I call a true ayahuasca warrior. When I talked to Chad about his SWAT arrest, this is what he told me. He said that he would fight this. He didn't care if he went bankrupt, he would fight this. So I went, oh, okay. So Chad Gillies will stand up for ayahuasca and is standing up for ayahuasca, and he's doing that for all of us. So I would encourage you to go on to the Ayahuasca Canada website, click on the Chad Gillies arrest. There's you can find out all about this ridiculous, insane arrest. Here's the thing. I'm not a criminal. Me and Richard Nixon, I am not a criminal. And Chad isn't a criminal. For doing what? For taking something that, what we'll be arguing in the ayahuasca DCRIM white paper is that the ayahuasca has a net benefit to society. It's not some dangerous drug. It isn't, ayahuasca isn't a harmful substance. It's a spiritual medicine. So that's we need to find this terminology, and we need to find how to explain this to people so that they can understand it. So, and while we're on Chad's page, there is Chad's Defense Fund, which, let me click on that link, and you can find this as well on the GoFundMe. The ayahuasca, he has a GoFundMe page called the Ayahuasca Defense Fund, and I would encourage you, if you've been affected by this medicine, or if you have the means to go in and throw in $10, $100, $100,000, yeah, right? So I would urge you to do that. And let's see, what else do I have for you? And so those were the two topics I wanted to cover in the Zoom call on Sunday, or our previous Zoom call on Sunday. And my apologies for getting this video out late. It's just been a crazy week, and I like to have these videos out a couple days after the Zoom call. We had a great time on the Zoom call, and after I did my little spiel, we started it turned into a question and answer period. So we had a great dialogue going there, and a lot of people participating. And I urge you, if you can make it out to the next Zoom, I'd appreciate it. For me, it's those Zoom calls are just showing support for what we're doing, and that we're not in this alone. So to me, they're very important. So I'll leave you with that, and have a beautiful day, and we will see you again a week from Sunday. Thank you very much.